10. It's too early for me to do that. Right, I've got to introduce a very nice couple. You know who it is. You probably know some of the things I'm going to say. I joined the staff here at Anglican Full Bank in 1990. And virtually immediately I got started on a project for happening food baskets, which of course eventually became known as Harvest for the Hungry. And to do your sum, you'll realise, and Jerry might like to note this, that, that next year is actually the 25th Harvest for the Hungry. Never believed it would go on that long. If you count 1993 and 25 years on from there, it's next year. So that'll be quite a landmark as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, that very first Harvest for the Hungry, Gary managed to negotiate a share in an airlift into Zagreb, shared it with Operation Christmas Child, and we airlifted a lot of those parcels into Zagreb to help some of the refugees from the Bosnia conflict, or the Balkans conflict. And that went on right the way throughout the Balkans conflict, to all the sides of the conflict. And a few years into Harvest for the Hungry, I'm not sure quite how many, Jane and I and what was the girl's name? No. Cathy Fear, that's right. We went down to Mostar with one of the trucks to have a look there and to encourage the people there. And there were lots of nice people there at the church at Mostar. We saw the bridge looking very sad for itself. We also met this gentleman here, this pastor here, Jovica Baczwanski, who'd come over from Montenegro to meet up with me to see whether we could send some food parcels to his church in Montenegro, which we did the following year and subsequently. But amongst the people that we met there in Mostar was a great giant of a man with the loudest laugh I've ever heard, and he was the associate pastor of the church there in Mostar. And you know who I'm talking about. Slavko. That was my first meeting with Slavko, and he impressed me no end at the time. I don't think we met Sanya, unless we met her in church. But I certainly remember going round some of the houses, delivering food parcels with Slavko, and he showed us some things that we never thought we'd see, but we never see again. And it was clear of his love for the people. And it wasn't a surprise to me when, short time later, he was invited to take over the church in Sarajevo. Now, our link with Sarajevo is that some 6 years ago, St. Botolph's, which is my church in Kettering, twinned with Slavko's church in Sarajevo. It's getting on for 6 years now, and we've committed ourselves and they've committed us. And they're more like an outreach of our church, and we're more like an outreach of their church. And people visit one way and the other, and the relationship is really superb. And we've got to know Slavko and Sanya as very dear friends over those few years. In fact, they're coming back to sponge off us next week. Can I introduce them to you? Two of the loveliest people you could ever hope to meet. You might need earplugs, but never mind. Slavko and Sanya.
Thank you. I do need microphone, even I am around. Okay. Thank you very much, Derek. Again, it's great to be here with all of you. This morning, even greater than yesterday, because yesterday we were really tired. We woke up yesterday at 3 a.m. UK time, so we had a good night of rest. And sorry that we didn't join you for prayer meeting. We a little bit overslept. But tomorrow we will be there. Is technique disobeying? Try to close this. Super. Thank you, Chili. Yeah, so it's great to be here, and we are very thankful for TEN and for TEN's involvement in our country in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm glad that also Derek cannot remember exact year because I cannot either. You should ask Jay and Simon, they will remember month. But it was 1999, 2000, a long time, 16, 17 years ago. Time is flying. And through those years, TEN and as Derek mentioned, St. Bottol's Church as well, did great things and helped us a lot in our task of spreading the gospel in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This morning we have about an hour because we want to leave some time for questions and answers. And we will speak mainly about three things. We will speak about the situation in our country and how we can pray and help in that way. We will also speak about our family because we are in need of prayers as well, as all of us are. And then most of the time we will speak about our local church and especially some projects that are helped by TEN and by St. Bottol's Church. Situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina, even there are not many Christians, there are many more than 20-25 years ago. Believe it or not, but in the heart of the Europe in Bosnia and Herzegovina, before 1990s, so before war, which we had just 25 years ago, there were less than 100 Protestant newborn believers in all country, which is close to 4 million population. So less than probably, okay, here is approximately the number of believers in all Bosnia. There were a few very small congregations. Then through war and after the war, something started to happen and the situation started to change. So today we have up to 1,000 believers in the country. So still we are small, but it was significant growth. You may ask yourself why it is that way, why we have so few believers, and there are several reasons. One of them is historical reason. So when Reformation started 1517, as we heard this morning about Martin Luther, and the official date of start of Reformation is October 31st, 1517. Even I'm saying that Reformation started on the Reformation of the Church, on the birthday of the Church, on the day of Pentecost, which we will celebrate tomorrow, and Church start to change since then. But anyway, 1517, when Reformation officially started in the Europe, Bosnia and Herzegovina was already under the Ottoman Empire. And you can see this map here. This map actually is from 1800s, when Ottoman Empire already started to shrink. So in 15th century, in 16th, 17th century, it was going all the way up to the top of the map, to the city Eger, which is north of Budapest, and to Vienna, and all this region was under the Turks. But this border, northern border of Bosnia, for 500 years was border between Ottoman Empire and the rest of the Europe. So Reformation penetrated Bosnia and Herzegovina very late in 19th century. So some 400 years, 450 years after it was started. I guess we would be glad to hear that one of first missionaries in Bosnia and Herzegovina was British. She was lady. Her name was Miss Adeline Pauline Irby. And in 1860s, she came to Bosnia and Herzegovina, and God put in her heart love for our region, for our country, and she decided to stay there. She started one of the first schools for girls, actually second school for girls. It was started in the same year when the first one was started. And then she lived in Bosnia for more than 50 years. During the uprising against Turks, she saved thousands of lives of refugees, and all the time she was spreading the gospel. With the help of British Bible Society, she translated Bibles to our language, printed them, was delivering them to people, and she was light of God in our country at that time. Anyhow, under being 450, 500 years under the Turks, people were suspicious to anything foreign, and after fail of Ottoman Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire overtook, but then soon after that communism came, and we became part of former Yugoslavia. And as you know, in communism, religion was not allowed, and in Yugoslavia it was strongly, it was not completely forbidden, but if you were religious, you could not advance at your workplace and many other things. So many people became atheists and drove away from any form of religion and faith. Then in 1990s we had a war, and we became Bosnia and Herzegovina independent country consisted of three national groups. We have two parts, Federation and Republic of Srpska, but a little later about that. So that's one reason why there were so few Christians, and still there are so few Christians. Historical reasons. No one brought the Reformation to Bosnia till Serbia came, and then, as I said, people were very close, and then communism came. This war in 1990s, as any war, was very, very bad and terrible. We have three major national groups, Serbs, Croats, and Bosniaks. Serbs would be Orthodox by background, Croats would be Catholics, and Bosniaks would be Muslims. In country, in total, there were roughly half Muslims, so around 50%, 35% Orthodox, and 15% Catholics. Because of communism, people were not religious at all, but with the fall of communism and with the rise of nationalism, people started to connect nationality with religion. So even they would not go to church or to mosque, it became very important for them their religious identity, even they would not practice it. And they were all fighting each other. Here are just few photos from the war to show you how terrible it was. Sarajevo was under the longest siege in modern human history. It was 3 years of complete siege of the city. And Derek was in Sarajevo. I was taking him to tunnel, its museum today, but people dug by hands tunnel that I hardly can walk through because it's 1 meter 60 and it's very tiny. You could go only in one direction. It was that they can get out of town to bring some food in and army ammunition as well. This is almost center of Sarajevo. This is how it looks today, and that is how it looked right after the war. Or this picture where today you can see mothers with children. This was very front line in the very center of the city. This is the river which is going through city. And that side, those buildings which we can see, that was Serb territory. And this side from where picture is taken was Muslim territory. And from those balconies, snipers would shoot daily. In Sarajevo, during the 3 years of the war, 11,541 persons was killed and 1,500 were children. This was National Library. It was completely burned down, now is rebuilt. Or in those buildings we have our joint church services. In all Sarajevo have around 350,000 people. Population, there are roughly 200 Christians. And the biggest church in Bosnia and Herzegovina have only 50, 60 adults, unfortunately, still. So please do pray for the growth in number and in maturity. But here we don't have big enough building to accommodate, to put in 200 people. So when we have once a year joint service of all Sarajevo Protestant churches, regardless on denomination, we rent cinema in those buildings, and that's how they looked during the war. This is Hotel Holiday Inn, and during the war it was used by foreign journalists. And the interesting fact is that this side, which you can see of the hotel, snipers could shoot at that side. So rooms on the other side were more expensive rooms. You know, when you go to holiday, you pay more to have view on the sea. When you were in Sarajevo in the war, you pay more where snipers cannot shoot you. And this is also one of the buildings, also at the very center of the town that was on the Muslim side, and they would shoot from those balconies. So Serbs took one prisoner, Muslim guy, and killed the, how you call the thing which you push? They have wheels and yeah, bigger than wheel, but exactly, car. And they fill it with explosive and force him to push that underneath of that building and blow up completely that side. So why I'm telling you all of that? There were very bad things on all three sides, many bad things. Serbs, Croats, Bosniaks, all did war crimes, all were killing people, all were destroying, and nationalism grew. And people became very nationalistic in very negative sense. And as they identified nationality with religion, it became the case that you do not change your religion. If you change your religion, you are a traitor of your family, of your friends, and that is big stumbling block for Protestant and evangelical churches for spreading the gospel, because pressure of the family and the friends is huge. We have many cases when people do become Christians and decide to follow Jesus, that they are completely rejected from the family, from the friends, that they have obstacles in the workplace, in the school. We even had life threats. Thanks to God, no one was killed or seriously injured, but there are many threats and pressures. So today Bosnia and Herzegovina looks like this. This is the entity line, and then this entity is again divided into two parts. Before war it was very mixed, and during the war a lot of ethnical cleansing happened, and people were displaced. So, for example, now Sarajevo, where we live, is more than 90% Muslim population. And then there are parts of the country with Catholic population and Orthodox population. And you may think that probably it is easier among nominal Christian denominations, but unfortunately it's not, for the same reasons, for that bad nationalism. And also often because we are such small minority, people are very ignorant, and we are labeled or categorized as a sect, especially among nominal Christians, which doesn't help at all. We have a flag, which doesn't mean anything to us, because we couldn't agree. Each nationality wanted their national symbols on the flag, and they couldn't agree which to use. So this flag is forced to us by Office of High Representative, which is actually international body, and it's just example of disunity in the country. That one, yeah. So that is situation in our country, and please do pray for Bosnia and Herzegovina. And again, thank you very much for 10 and for involvement through last 16, 17 years. And Derek mentioned Mostar and Sarajevo, but Mostar and Sarajevo are not only two places where TEN is helping. TEN is helping also in the city of Zenica, which is, so Sarajevo is here. Here is Zenica, here is Mostar. I think that TEN was helping in Banja Luka as well, so a pretty big part of the country, and also our drug rehab center was helped by some projects from TEN. Thank you very much for all your help. We are in big need of your prayers and your help. Do you want to add anything about Bosnia?
No, I think that you mentioned all what we need to know about our country.
Okay, then we will move a little bit to. This is our anthem. Listen for the words. I know there are no words because we couldn't agree on the words. It's not funny, that's sad. I know, but it just shows you how big nationalism is and how big problem it is itself. You heard a little bit last night about our family. This is photo from the last year. Some of you met our children. When was that conference again? Some 5-6 years ago. When we were at the TEN conference, and they grew a lot. Sanya will share a little bit about herself and kids. About myself, you heard last night, after I became Christian, God called me, Sanya was not Christian yet, to go back to Bosnia and Herzegovina, which I promised to myself, to her, that we will never do. And God's calling was very clear, so I was trying to resist for some time, but then finally I submitted to His will, and we returned to Mostar, and Sanya there became Christian, and then everything was easier, and we were together, and both saved, and we started to serve in a local church in Mostar. After some time I became associate pastor, then I met Derek and Jane, and first Harvest for the Hungry truck came, and it was such blessing. We were helping hundreds of people through work of the soup kitchen. It was not church soup kitchen, it was city soup kitchen, but we had very good contacts with them, and we were able to share gospel with many of the benefactors of the soup kitchen. And when I graduated in Bible school in Mostar, I was asked to move to Sarajevo and to overtake and plant the church. There was some work in Sarajevo which was in really hard shape and condition. So we were asked by our presbyters, and at first we denied. We not denied, reject. We said we will pray. We did pray, and our security zone was built in Mostar. And we said, well, we haven't heard from God. We think we should stay. But then God started to speak to us again very clearly. And in September 2003, we moved to Sarajevo for 1 year. We committed that we will be there 1 year. And that was now 13 years ago. And besides pastoring local church, I'm also quite involved. I have two passions in my ministry. One is preaching, the other one is evangelism. So I'm very active part of FOER, which is Fellowship of European University Evangelists, and I speak at mission weeks at universities around Europe a few times a year, almost every year coming to UK as well to speak at universities here. And also I'm involved with Langham Preaching, which is started by John Stott, and Langham is equipping preachers around the world. I'm facilitator with Langham, and since February this year, regional coordinator for Balkans. And also I'm teaching in Bible school in Mostar, which two subjects, evangelism and preaching, of course.
I'm helping Slavko with work in church. Okay. I'm helping him with administration's work, and also I'm leading women ministry and children ministry in our church. Before, when kids were little, I didn't have any job. We decided that I would stay at home and take care of them. But since I think 2 years ago, I started to work part-time for one foundation who helps and provide money for students from poor families and orphans to go to college, to faculty to study. So we provide the money for their living costs and tuition and the books. So that is my part-time job. Okay, we mentioned yesterday our daughter Giovanna, but we didn't mention our son David. So we have two kids, Giovanna 20 years old and David 16 years old. So our son David, he is still in high school. He is second year of high school. So he has 2 more years, and then he wants to go to university to study. He likes math, he likes physics, and he likes computers. So he wants to study something of that. So you can pray for him to find a good faculty for himself. Also, he has some art soul. He likes to play instruments. He plays several instruments, and he is part of our worship band in church. And also, he is part of young worship band in our country. So also he had opportunity to be in 2 movies. So it's a really good experience for him. He saw in that side of life. Our daughter, and thank God I forgot to mention, but he is following Jesus. So thanks God.
I will not forget that. It was a great experience for him through that movies. When he was asked to play a role in the first movie, he was 10 years old, and he was part of the drama club in the club drama group in school, and he was asked to play main role in the movie. And the problem was he was supposed to speak bad words in a movie. So we as a parents, when we saw the script, we go and we said to director, we cannot do that, we are Christians. And then they tried to convince us, and we said no, and we had 1.5 hour meeting with director and producer, and we shared gospel with them, we shared our testimonies with them, I preached them from the James, and at the end they said we have to take someone else. We said, okay, no problem. There was no problem for us, but David was very gloomy. He left the meeting with his nose touching the floor. And I told him in the car, well, son, let me tell you. He said, Daddy, I know everything. I am sad, but I will be fine. I said, let's pray about that. And I was praying that God would give him peace. I didn't expect more than that. But God can do more than we can pray. And we got a phone call, and they said, he's okay with your faith and religion. Can he speak instead of speaking bad words? So they changed the script for him, and that was, I think, that he learned a lot from that. And thanks God for that opportunity. And he loves mathematics and physics, so he doesn't want to be actor. He said, I like that, but I want to be a mathematician or physicist. And yeah.
So our daughter Giovanna, she is 20 years old. She's studying psychology on Sarajevo University, so she's still living with us. She's follower of Jesus, and she's really involved in our church. She leads teen group. She's part of worship band. So we are really thankful God that He healed her, and it's really big. Big for her. It's big witness how God is good and that he can believe him in every situation. So you can pray for her and for our son, also for godly, for our daughter, godly spouses, for godly men for her and godly women for him, because we don't have a lot of young believers in our country.
Yeah, for them also was great experience. They were at the 10 conference with us a few years ago and with us visiting St. Botolph's Church and their teen work. And, they are quite lonely at all faculty, psychology faculty, which my daughter studies. I guess there are 700-800 of students at that faculty. She is the only Christian. And at all Sarajevo University, there are only 3 Christian students, or all 3 are girls. So please keep them in your prayers. Here at this photo, you heard last night how God healed our daughter and that she was doing rhythmical gymnastics and she loved to dance, especially she loved to dance for Jesus. And this photo is taken when she was dancing in one Christian video, musical video, and at some regional conferences also she is dancing in worship. But you remember last night, doctors were sure that she will be a child with the special needs. And whenever I walk into her room and when I saw the all medals which she won on international competitions, it reminded me how God healed her. Also, hallelujah, praise the Lord. Yeah. Whenever I say that, I have to say, I know you are all here mature Christians, but I always, when I'm evangelizing and speaking to people who are not Christians, I always have to say, don't misunderstand me. God is not wish well. It doesn't happen that all our prayers get answered as we want. I personally believe that all our prayers get answered, but sometimes answer is no, sometimes wait. But as we mentioned last night, the difficulties which I go through with the health and vice cancer, but we can say you are still alive. I am. Yeah. Yes, that's true. But I would rather not go through all that experiences, which I believe God allowed also to build me and to change me. So please do pray for our family, for our children, that they will stay faithful to God, that they will serve Him, continue to serve Him, and as Sanya said, for godly spouses for them. Then, third thing which we want to speak about, how we are doing with the time, and it will take most of the time, is our local church and our work. We will not mention all activities, even we are, for UK standards, very small church. For Bosnian standards, we are big church. But even we are small church, we do many activities. This is our building. Actually, now it's not in this shape, but pastor rector of St. Botolph's Church, Mark Lucas, was preaching in it when it was in this shape. So we had service, open air service. Some 3 years ago we had big snow. This was now this is how it looks now. Sorry. And it was a private house with 3 floors. You cannot see bottom floor. It's on the hill, and name of our church is Košarsko Brdo. Brdo means hill in our language. We are on the hill. So there is one more floor down. But it was living house with many rooms, and when we got it, when we want to make worship space, we could do it only on the top floor, because lower floors have supporting walls. So we knocked down some walls at this level and made worship space, but 3 years ago we had a big snow. It was 1.20 meters, big snow. Have you ever had in UK that big snow? No. It was terrible. City was collapsed for a month. Kids were so happy. They didn't have to go to school. But then in June, when they had to go for the February, they were not so happy. Anyway, our roof started to collapse, and then when we had to remove roof, and then we knocked some more walls inside and made space bigger. And also, we had 3 renovations actually since we moved in the building. So when we first moved, we could put 25 people in it, and now we can have 80 people. And with children, our church has 50 adults plus 20, 25 children. It's pretty packed. So hopefully soon we will need either 2 services or next extension. But our renovation projects were helped also by St. Bottles Church and TEN, so we are very thankful to that. For that, church is not building, church are people, but also it's very important to have place where we can meet. Even it can be open air if it is not snowing or raining. Yeah, and then the activities which we do. We have activities for believers. In the past, when I just moved to Sarajevo, we had 2 types of activities, for believers and evangelistic activities. And I didn't believe in past in pre-evangelistic activities. I was thinking it's waste of time and money. But I changed my mind a lot, and I believe today that pre-evangelistic activities are very important. Because for some people, it's just so big step that they cannot make it to come from wherever they are, in Islam, in atheism, in something else, to church and to hear the gospel. And we need to provide and to create bridges for them that they can easier cross. So today we have 3 types of activities: activities for believers, pre-evangelistic activities, and evangelistic activities. And TEN is involved in all of them. You maybe notice I'm saying TEN and St. Bottles, and sometimes for me is equivalent, because first I met Derek and Jane and they were part of the TEN. But then Derek retired, and then we made connection local church to local church, as you heard, 6 years already. Wow, we are sister churches, and all help with St. Bottles is doing in our work is through TEN. So we are very thankful for all that connections, and it can be example to many local churches who wants to help work in Eastern Europe or anywhere. And thanks God for organizations like TEN who are making that possible and easier for all of us. So for believers, we have a variety of different activities. On the first place, of course, Sunday services. In last 13 years, we missed only one Sunday, and that was when that 1 meter, 20 centimeters of snowfall, no one couldn't get to the church that Sunday. So Sunday services, prayer meetings, Bible studies, as every church has. But then beside that, we provide other types of fellowships. This is actually, I tried to find, I didn't have all pictures, so this morning I was putting them together. I didn't find any picture of our Sunday church service, but this is joint church service of Sarajevo churches in that cinema, which we are renting, which happens once a year, and it's a huge blessing for all of us. This and the next photo, this is Passover dinner, which we had last year. And we are speaking on the Passover dinner about prophecies in the Old Testament which are fulfilled in Jesus, and especially connected with the Pesach or Passover. And that is for church members, but always we have as well some guests among us. That's the same thing. And then in Bosnia, food is important, so we try once a month we have Lord's Supper. But also once a month we try to make either barbecue or some sort of gathering around the food, and always we invite our non-Christian friends, and condition to be at the barbecue is that you have to be at the service prior to that. So they have opportunity first to feed their souls and to hear word of God, and then to fill their tummies. This is photo from one of baptisms. The young girl in the middle is our daughter. That was one of my most joyful days when I was first diagnosed with a cancer, one of my complaints to God was I will not be in our church. We baptize adults, as you can see. So I said, God, I will not be present there, but God extended my years so I could baptize both of them, John and David. When it is winter, we have baptism inside in the building. We have an inflatable pool, which we put inside, but I more like baptisms in the summer because then we do outside of the building. And if you remember, we are on the hill, so there are many houses up here, and then all neighbors are present. Bosnians are very curious. They want to know what's happening in the neighbor's yard. I don't know if it's that way in UK. But they are all on the balconies and windows, and they can also hear and see what is going on. This is last baptism which we had, and later at the end I will speak a little bit about son of this lady, so remember her. We also have worked with teenagers and with children, and Sanya will tell you a little bit about that and how St. Bottles and Pen are involved with that work.
We start with a teenager group, I think 7 years ago, and St. Bottles Church to 10 help us. They buy some equipment for teenage group. So I don't know where to put this group because in this group are children from our church, believers, and also children who are not believers yet, but they like to come in our group. So they always on their meetings, they have Bible study. They talk about Bible and about that stories and how they put that story in their life, how can they live that today. Also, they have fun. We try to help them to go to youth conference, and they like that because they meet new young people. They heard about Jesus, what he did. Believers are encouraged through that conference, and non-believers have opportunity to hear more what Jesus do in many young's lives.
And some of the teenagers came to our teenage group through our humanitarian work, which you heard of before, and they have difficulties to finance trips to Christian conferences, so that's also where PEN is helping sometimes with making possible for those children to be at the conferences.
So you can pray for these non-believers, youth, to come on that day to decide to follow Jesus, to give their life to Him. So please pray for them because they are really nice kids, and I think I know that they need Jesus in their life.
Yeah, and they know, they've heard, they know everything. They just need to make that step and make decision. And most of them who are not Christians, one is from completely Muslim family, and she just turned 18. So it's hard under that circumstances. The other two who are sisters, they are from mixed marriage. Their mother is Muslim and father is Croat Catholic. Beside that, we have children's work.
So I like this part. I like children. And we have children group in our church. We divide them in two groups, elementary school children and the younger. So we try to make program for both groups. With small kids, we cannot do many things, but we can learn them short stories, short songs. But with older group, we do really Bible study, and we try always to make something for church. So this is for last Easter. So we try to make drama. David is not part of a children's group, but they need Jesus, so he played Jesus in that. Yes. But they like to promote, to give some part to our church. we know that they are children, but we want to learn them that they are also members of our church.
Yes, and we have other activities for believers which we do not have focus of, and also we are slowly running out of time. But one important which I will mention is Preachers Club. We are a small church. We have 4 or 5 people who are not just can preach, but some of them are really good preachers. And our Preachers Club is meeting sometimes bi-monthly, sometimes 3-monthly, sometimes monthly, but it's a big blessing. And also we have different seminars. This is also its work. For example, this was seminar for preachers, which I organized with Langham. This is not our building. It was organized in Baptist Church in Sarajevo, and it was interdenominational. Or this photo, this is just from the last week. This is in our church, and also it was 4 other churches as well, and this was training for internet evangelism. So we realize how internet is important, which word to use, important tool to reach non-Christians, and we want more and more to use internet in Bosnia. And last week we had training from the group called Jesus Net, and you can pray for that as well. We started few web pages actually to reach students, to reach non-students, and it's just at the beginnings, but there are already many visits on that web pages. And then we have 3 evangelistic events. First, I will mention concerts. We do Christmas and Easter concerts. We started some 5-6 years ago, maybe less than that. I'm not really good with the time and with the numbers. So a few years ago, we started them, and it's great success because at each concert we have at least I would say 30 non-Christians, sometimes for the first time in our church, and we always share the gospel. It's not evangelistic message in the sense, with invitation that someone will be challenged to decide to follow Jesus, but we share gospel with them. And as I say, reason for the season, Easter or Christmas. This is also a photo from one of our concerts. Then we have medical clinic. In all Bosnia and Herzegovina, among 4 million people, there is only one newborn Christian believer who is doctor. And we are blessed that she is part of our church. This is Dr. Maya. And some 7, 8, maybe even 10 years ago, we started Health Advisory Center, where people can come and get free health advice. And Ken was helping us in the past many times with some funds to buy medicine for the people who cannot afford it. Often people who are coming to our, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, medical system is not very good, but it's available to most of the people. Even those who are unemployed, they have some sort of medical insurance. But, those marginalized people, they do not get good treatment. Even those who are not marginalized don't get good treatment in the Bosnian hospital. I can testify to that. But those who are marginalized, often they are, I don't know how to explain in English, but you understand what I mean. They don't get really good treatment, and often medicine, you have to pay, they cannot buy it. So we are really thankful for the help that decide giving them medical advice, that we can give them a medicine and help their health. In the waiting room for Dr. Maya, we always share gospel with them, offer them prayer, and offer them Christian literature. Puppet shows. Sanya, we have only 5 minutes, so do it quickly.
Okay. Puppet shows.
We are over time too.
Okay, puppet shows, it's something that we do around Christmas. So all church is involved in puppet shows. So we have all teen group. All teen group is involved in that. So, we don't have ages. Our youngest puppeteer is 10 years old, and our oldest is 70 years old. So, and all we are like family. We have some puppets. Some puppets we get from the St. Bottles Church. So we try to share with children good news through puppets. We try to share good news with children through puppets. Also, always we invite and children and their parents, and on the end we gave them Bibles for parents, regular Bible, and for children, children's Bible.
And all those photos were in our church, but also we got open door that we can do. In our church we have sometimes 10, 12 shows in 3 days because we cannot put all children at once. Last year we had 300 kids plus parents, so 500 people, and our church can accommodate only 80. But got open doors also, and we were able to do puppet shows in some schools. And also after the show, then we can share gospel with children and with teachers, and we are really thankful to God for that opportunity. And then evangelistic activities. First, I will mention street evangelism. Maybe you recognize this guy here. So when Derek came, he go to street with us. There are other people from St. Bottles Church also. And when Penn is sending teams, they are actively involved in everyday church life. In Sarajevo, many people love to speak with foreigners, to practice their English, and so to have them on the street, and many young people do speak English. It's really a blessing, and it's attractive to people. Sometimes when it is just few of us, we put table like this. So, Sarajevo is Muslim city, 95% Muslims, and we are really thankful to God for freedom that we can put Bibles with the crosses in the center of Sarajevo, and we are free to evangelize, to share gospel. I know that in some parts of Western Europe, which is considered as a Christian, you would not be able to do that. So we are really thankful to God for that. And sometimes when there is more of us, we even climb on the box and share testimonies or preach short messages, sing the songs, and Then Circle of Women. It's an evangelistic event for the ladies, which we have bi-monthly, and also often it was held by St. Bottles. We had, when teams were coming, some ladies were speaking at our evangelistic events, and we were held to buy some supplies because at each event ladies are doing some craft beside hearing word of God, and always craft is connected with what teaching was on, that they can take home and remember. And the interesting thing is that at each event, always, since we started it 10 years ago, we always have more non-Christians than Christians. It's very well attended, and many then came through that to Alpha course, and some became Christians. Alpha course, of course, I don't have a photo from Alpha course, but we do usually one Alpha course in the year. We start in October and finish by Christmas. And actually that's where I met first Gary Cox, when he came to Sarajevo to do training for Alpha, and that's when we first met. Humanitarian work is the area where Penn is, most helping in our local church. And through years, in last 13 years, we each year had humanitarian projects. We had up to 25 families in our projects. We could distribute much more. Need is big, but sometimes less is more. If we take huge truck and just give parcels, that's good. You feed people and there is need. But we also want to share gospel with them. So we take number of families which we can really take care of. And the maximum number was 25. This year, for example, we have 12 families, and St. Boltos was collecting harvest for the Hungary specifically for our local church and for our project. So with the money which they collected and sent through PEN, we are able to help 12 families for 12 months. And each month they receive parcel. Here you can see people from our church packing the parcels. We go each month to buy goods and to pack. Here again you can see Derek at one of the purchasing and packing of the parcels. And then, what? That's what I have, sorry. I could fix it in Photoshop. But you are looking good, Derek. Now every year, every January, we select new families. So now those families whom we have in project, we know only for 4 months. Actually, two are ladies from our church who are elder ladies without family, retired with very, very small income. We are helping them, and then 10 are non-Christian families. All of them we met in January for the first time. And I don't feel good to go and to say, let me take picture of you into their faces. So I don't have pictures of them. Actually, this is the father of this family. This is the house where they live, and they live only in this part because someone else is living upstairs. As you can see, he is in his mid-50s. He was fighting in the war in Bosnia as well as his wife. And after the war, they continued to work into the companies where they worked before war, but both companies bankrupt and they stay without work. And in his mid-50s, no one doesn't want to employ him, and he can go to retirement when he is 65. They have 2 children. Their daughter is last year of primary school and son first year of high school. They are Muslim background and have really, really hard life. So we are really thankful to God for opportunity and for help of St. Bottles and Tent, that we can help them in a practical way with the food, but also with the gospel of Jesus Christ. And all of them, all of the families already several times heard the gospel. Beside going to their homes and taking them parcels, we invite them to church. This is home of the other lady. So as you can see, it's abandoned upstairs, never finished. She lives here, it's leaking, and also she is single mother with a son. All of them live in very hard conditions, and help is very welcome. But this is in February, so we go to them first time in January, took parcel to them, and then in February we invited them to church to do distribution of clothes, which we collect in the church, and also got from one humanitarian organization in Bosnia. And this is Senad. Most of them are Muslim background, and Senad is Muslim who became Christian. And here he is sharing his testimony with them. So, yeah, and this is the distribution after. And for the end, I want to share with you a story of these 2 guys. I saw here it says transforming Europe one life at a time. And there are many stories like their stories. There are many stories like my story and yours. There is every testimony is great testimony and witness of God's love and God's miracle. But then have part in many of those stories in Bosnia and across Europe. Yesterday we flew by Turkish Airlines to Heathrow, and they have advertisement, and it says hold your breath. And then when you hold your breath, they list all countries where they fly. They have 192 countries, and they go really fast, and I tried. To my surprise, I succeeded. I go through all 192 with holding breath. I'm sure if we try to hold breath for all people who became Christians and who got saved in the last 51 years of what your evangelism, now 10, was doing and is doing in Europe, we will all be dead, because there are many, many names written in the heaven, and you have part in that. This is Senad. Senad was alcoholic. He was aggressive. He would fight with police. He would be in prisons for fighting with police. His wife divorced him. His daughter didn't want to talk to him. And then God touched Senad's heart. He had an encounter with Jesus. We don't have time for the full story, but he became new man. He got saved. He accepted Jesus as the Lord and the Savior. Today, Senad is completely different person. He is same on the outside, but inside his heart is so generous, so tender. And now Senad is leading humanitarian work in our church. He is going to visit those families. I'm often going with him. Senad does not have a car, so we go together. I drive, but he has such a passion to share gospel with them. And he is not man of many words. And on that occasion, when we had humanitarian distribution, I wanted to share gospel, and I did with the people. And then just before, like few minutes before, I said, Senad, when I share the gospel, I want you to share your testimony with them. And I gave them him instructions. I said, be brief. You know, you need to watch the time. I drove the time. It's your fault. And then when Senad shared the gospel later, he came to me and he said, you know, Slavko, this morning I was praying to God that he will give me opportunity to share my testimony with someone. And that day he shared with 12 people. Thanks God for Senad. This guy here is Sasha. Sasha became Christian in our church some 2 years ago. At that time, he is unmarried wife. His wife, but they were not legally married, left him. He was using a lot of synthetic drugs, is that correct word? Synthetic drugs, and he was all messed up. And he wanted to kill himself. He seriously wanted to commit suicide, and then he remembered his friend from the childhood, who is elder in our church, brethren. And he called him, and he said to him, please, can I talk to you? I'm in a terrible situation. I want to kill myself. And let them pray for him over the phone. Next Sunday, he came to church. That was 2 years ago. I don't think that he ever missed one church meeting. He is a student of Bible school in Mostar, so sometimes when he's traveling, he is in church there. But God so dramatically changed his life. A month or two after, I was calling him to his home, and his mother picked up the phone, and I said, hey, Slavko, can I speak with Sasha? She said, no, he's not at home, but let me tell you something. And I said, yeah, tell me. And she said, we need to build you monument. I said, why monument? She said, what you did, like the church, in the life of my son, he is transformed completely. I said, thank you very much, Milana, but all glory belongs only to God. Soli Deo Gloria, Slava Bogu Slava. And he did the change. It's nothing, it has to do something with us, but he changed his life, and your life can be changed as well. And the photo which I told you earlier to remember of lady getting baptized, that's his mom. Soon after, she became Christian, and she is very active member of our church. And then his grandmother, who passed away just few months before when she died, she became Christian as well. So all family become saved. And even there are less than 1,000 believers in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm sure that in days and years in front of us, as brother was sharing this morning from Habakkuk, in those days, many people will become Christians, one life at a time. And thanks to all of you and to them for your part which you are playing in that. God bless you all.
Follow that, as they say. Well, coffee is due in 6 minutes, 30 seconds time. But we're not really here for coffee, are we, folks? I think we'll have to forego the question and answer session, but we can't forego the time to pray for the family. So I'll leave you to pray. Please pray loudly. Can we arrange loading mics quickly? Pray for Slavko and Sanya. Don't forget their children. Jovana's great. She's got a real thing about England. Her bedroom is covered in Union Jacks and pictures of Big Ben and so on. David is great. He wants to be a physicist. And I'm by background a physicist, so I think that's terrific. And we've got these two super people here with us. So let's